We were watching the radar. We're watching these storms move in. There you can see the storm it's been warned on now, again, to the west of Lawton, south of Hobart. But we want to take you back, first of all, from a video analysis and show you what this storm actually did. You know, a day, Greg, where we certainly thought there would be a couple of tornadoes, and this one finally produced, unfortunately, right near Norman.
Yeah, and you saw highlighted there, so it was a little bit wrapped in rain, so it's a little bit more of a silhouette, but you see a big cone-shaped funnel in there, seems to be reaching the ground. And this was a pretty good example of what we call at least a partially rain-wrapped tornado, as at times we could see some rain shafts that were there. But this is over on the west side of Norman and came right into Norman. There you can still see a little bit to the right of the center. There you can see a little bit better look at it. It's right all the way down to the ground. So that was the tornado, partially rain-wrapped. Unfortunately, that wrapping of the rain was also what brought about its demise. Some of the rain-cooled air choked it off.
Yeah, and some of that may have actually even produced some damage, too, with some of the winds as it moved across. So, guys, that was the Norman tornado. Again, there has been damage, and at this time, reports of about 10 minor injuries. Good news. Kellen, Chris, back to you. All right, guys, a busy night here at the Weather Channel. We've had a tornado already in Norman, one off to the east in Dale, and now another one potentially around the Blair area in Oklahoma. That's southwest of these previous areas. I'm going to show you this storm, just a classic supercell in through here. You can see a nice little inflow notch right in through there, how the storm is gusting out, clearly a gust front hanging down on the south side of this, but it's right in through here that we may have had the tornado. Let me show you what the winds are like within this storm. This is the storm relative velocity, and look at that notch right there. Okay, so that's tucked back in that rain area a little bit. We've had extensive wind damage apparently in Blair, large trees down, shingles, roof shingles flying around. Also, Altus, Oklahoma is reporting the town is completely without power at this time. But watch out again as this storm continues to push to the east. Should go just to the north of Friendship, eventually between Cold Springs and Mountain Park. But a very, very dangerous storm. Probably one of the better ones that we've seen as far as a radar perspective of the nighttime evening tonight. So we'll keep an eye on it for you. Let's go back and talk about what we got going on in the west, because a powerful storm here will eventually be our catalyst for a major severe weather outbreak across the plains over the weekend. You can see it pushing through Los Angeles and Southern California with rain. We've even had again for the, I think it'll be the third or fourth day in a row, hail reported in California as a result of these storms. Of course, the snow is getting the mountains are getting the snow in through here, but heavy rain moving into San Diego and eventually across the deserts of the southwest. So watch out for some localized flooding, as we have seen a flood warning posted for Southern California. So here's the model. Here's the precipitation, again, still in the mountains back in through here. Here's the main crux to this, and as it moves off to the east, of course, we have snow up in Flagstaff, as would be expected early on Saturday. Snow will move over New Mexico, Colorado, and then out in toward the Plain States. We will eventually get our severe weather outbreak during the day on Saturday, and also on into Sunday. So again, southern Sierra, or southern parts of the Sierra. We're also talking about the Wasatch Front and into Colorado. Look for several inches of snow, especially above 7,000 feet, where some of you will probably see a foot plus. Right now, of immediate concern, though, strong signature on radar near Blair, Oklahoma. Could be a very dangerous tornado on the ground as we speak. Let's go back to Kelly and Chris.
All right, Jim, we appreciate it. And, you know, school officials in Norman, Oklahoma had to move pretty quickly to keep the kids, the teachers, as well as the staff safe from the tornado warning.
Norman Public School Superintendent Dr. Joseph Ciano joins us now live on the phone. And, Doctor, thanks for joining us. And can you talk a little bit about what happened today to help keep those kids safe?
Well, yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity. The storm came in right about dismissal time. Fortunately, our elementary school students had already been dismissed. Buses had already left and transported the students home. But middle school buses and high school buses were right at dismissal time. Our middle school buses were called back to the buildings. They delivered students back into their either middle school or an elementary school in proximity to the buses. Our high school to where the buses were, and our high schools just held their students, and buses did not depart from the high schools. We have about 15,000 students in the district. About 7,000 of those are in the middle and high schools. So we're fortunate to be able to hold the students until these storms passed.
And what did you do with those middle and high school students that were detained there at the school? Where was the safe place for them to go during all this?
Well, we have a number of places within the buildings, although they're not FEMA buildings, rated buildings. We have a number of places in the buildings that, through drills, we know where those that are the safest and strongest areas in the building. So the students were brought to those areas. We have a great administrative staff, teaching staff that remained, and obviously we're there to help supervise and move students to the right areas. We also had a number of community members that came into the building because they were either out picking up students or lived close to those schools.
And real quickly, we're running out of time, but was the time of day significant? I mean, did that help or did that hurt the efforts with the kids?
Well, I mean, that makes it, dismissal time is always a challenging time, but fortunately, you know, we had our procedures in place. We were able to get a hold of our drivers that had students out on buses to get them back. As well as fortunately hold our high school students. I'm very glad that our elementary students were already at home because we have an early elementary dismissal, so that did work in our favor.
Dr. Ciano, thank you so much for joining us. We're glad everybody's there. Everybody there is okay.
Stay with us here on Weather Center Live. We continue to track dangerous storms tonight, and the threat continues, in fact, increases tomorrow. Right now, we are tracking some storms and keeping an eye on the storms that have already passed and the damage they have done. And there are some active watches and warnings right now.
KFOR is in the air monitoring the situation from the air. And of course, on the radar, we have tornado watches as well as severe thunderstorm watches. We have live team coverage and exclusive analysis you'll only see right here on the Weather Channel. Weather Center Live continues right now.
Good evening. You're watching Weather Center Live. I'm Chris Warren.
And I'm Kelly Cass. It's now 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. It's already been a busy day.
It certainly has, and we have been watching the storms as they were developing, and we want to show you right now Anna Darko looking at some of these storms that we're moving through. And right now, we're looking at, it looks like some storm chaser video.
That's right. You can certainly see the ominous clouds. This is live out of Oklahoma, by the way, where, of course, we have the tornado watch in effect. We've already had a reported tornado touchdown in Norman, Oklahoma, earlier this afternoon, and it looks like we could see a high risk as we head into tomorrow.
And there are storms right now with a tornado warning. Let's get the very latest with Storm Tracker Jim Cantori.
Yeah, guys, it has been a busy day. What's been nice, I guess, about the storm earlier in Norman is, we've not heard of any injuries, major injuries at this point, but it also kind of gives us a blueprint of some of the storms that are following tonight. And we'll talk about one of those that's down in Kiowa and Johnson County that has produced damage, pretty decent amount of damage around the Blair area. Also in Martha, there's been reports of damage as well. And, you know, we're looking at a rotating wall cloud just north of Friendship at this time from storm spotters. So here's the whole situation. The storm earlier that's just east of Oklahoma City now, there's actually two of them. The one that's the farthest to the east is the one that produced the tornado in Norman. That's obviously out of the picture now. But Oklahoma City, you may eventually deal with this here, or the south side of town, Norman, you may eventually deal with another supercell tonight before all is said and done. But you can see where the tornado warning is. Again, spot specific for where we actually have the rotation couplet here, which is real nice because that doesn't, you know, get the whole county into the act. Unfortunately, the warning system has to be able to match that. Watch out on the Mountain Park area. Roosevelt on the north side of this could be seeing some baseball-size hail. Just a classic supercell through here. I want to bring in our severe weather expert, Greg Forbes, with our high-resolution radar to take a look at this. And really, you couldn't ask for more classic supercell here.
No, exactly. And it's sort of doing the thing that the Norman storm did. It's turning into a big, huge rotation. Look here, you see this spiraling in. And then you see this little narrow blue line coming out. That's the rear flank downdraft. The rain-cooled air has come in. Altus has measured, or just north of Altus, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts there, and we've had damage in Altus with that rear flank downdraft. Rotation right in there, maybe getting rain wrapped once again. We see here a very broad tendency, a little bit of a tendency of a tightening right there for a possible tornado, then this broad rotation with the red and the green in there. I'll bring back the regular way the radar looks, and we'll take a look at that. And you see that whole little spiraling area there is broad rotation with maybe a chance of a tornado up in the little notch. Now, I've taken a big slice through that, has a little donut hole in there, a big hail core up there in the lavender and white, and I'll move that up into the vertical. We'll take a 3D slice through the storm there. South is at the left. Here is the little notch, so that's where the updraft goes upward in the storm, up to this high overshooting top. The hail is generating loft and then falls down to the ground, and the big hail core there if there is a tornado, they like to hide just on the south side where the rain and then the no rain interface is taking place. So pretty classic supercell thunderstorm. Some anvil coming out this way, and the big overshooting top right in there.
Well, we're going to see plenty of those over the next couple of days, that's for sure. Again, guys, you're looking at pictures on the left. Actually, why don't we just take those full of some of the damage for us? As long as you're here, if we got some time, we'll analyze this and take a look at it. We understand that most of the schools apparently did fine. So I don't know if this is a school or a hospital.
That looks like
that almost looks like a school.
It looks like an apartment building or something, because there's 2 stories there. It took part of the roof off of that apartment building or townhouses or some kind of a residential building with multiple residents with it.
Live pictures again from KFOR. People obviously not being able to stay in that apartment building tonight, moving some stuff out, taking some of their belongings, hopefully going to see some friends and family.
Some of the blinds there, it looks like it broke the windows and pushed the blinds in and then took the roof off. Yeah, so significant damage there. Interesting, they'll chunk out of that one. The ones in between, though, the roofs are on, so a little bit sporadic, and or the wind's right at the threshold for causing damage. That may be as a church building or something. The windows there are interesting shape. So some of the streets that we've been seeing the damage on here in Norman, I recognize. I've walked down at one point, I think maybe back in December. So this is kind of striking close to home.
Yeah, we're starting to see again more and more pictures of Norman and the damage that they've had there, potentially as high as EF2. Again, guys, major tornado threat tomorrow. We'll talk more about that in detail coming up. Right now, let's go back to Kelly.
All right, guys, there's a lot of tweeting going on, especially with the threat going up over the weekend. The top 5 trends that folks are tweeting about at this hour. Midwest City, Oklahoma, talking about the word tomorrow and just how bad it's going to get. Here's a tweet. Never seen this before. 2 high-risk areas tomorrow for severe weather. Of course, we've got you covered here on the Weather Channel. Number 4, Muskogee, Oklahoma, talking about the winds, strong at times with some of these storms. Number 3, Tulsa, talking storms. We've already had some and more on the way. Norman, Oklahoma, watch is what you guys are talking about, being under a tornado watch, of course. And Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, talking severe weather in general, not just tornadoes, but large hail. You can get involved as well. The Weather Channel social is on air, online, and on your phone. Chris?
Hey, keep it right here. We'll be right back with the latest storm warnings and watches. Also, we're going to show you the latest video we've been getting in here to the Weather Channel. Stay with us. All right, as you watch your local on the 8th, we're continuing to get the latest information here to the Satellite Center from what is happening and what has happened with some of these storms we've been watching in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we've seen pictures of the damage, of course, too. And joining us live on the phone from northwest of Apache, Oklahoma, is storm chaser Ben Holcomb. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben. What can you tell us about what you've seen so far?
We had a tornado go through the city of Norman, and it actually went pretty close to my apartment, within about a half mile. I actually live in Norman. I left work earlier in the afternoon and tracked the storm all the way back into the city of Norman. Crazy rotation right behind us. I didn't actually see the tornado, but Corey, who was in the car with me, he did see it just for a split second before it came wrapped in rain.
Ben, have you seen any damage, and if so, what have you seen?
There was some minor damage, and even a little bit more than minor damage right along I-35. There's a whole bunch of restaurants and hotels, and it went basically right through that.
Yeah, earlier we were looking at a power pole that was flickering. We've heard reports of power outages as well. Have you been affected by that? And are we seeing a lot of debris out there on the roadways that might cause some problems for people trying to get around?
Yeah, there was some trees in the road. The power outages seem pretty localized right to the area that the tornado had gone through. Like I said, my apartment was about a half mile away, and it actually had power.
And anything else with it? Was the heavy rain at the time or hail?
Yeah, it was raining like crazy. There was a lot of ponding on the roadways as well. I was soaked from head to toe from standing outside of it.
Ben, do you plan to be out there chasing tomorrow? We know that tomorrow is going to be a very busy day as well.
Yeah, I will for sure be out there. Right now we're heading out towards the storm in the west, southwest Oklahoma. That's tornado warned, and then we'll be definitely back out tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Storm Chaser Ben Holcomb, and also tracking that threat for tomorrow right now, Storm Tracker Jim Cantori and our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes.
Yeah, today was kind of a pregame, if you will, but now we know we got the moisture available. Certainly the low-level winds are starting to kick up as well, Greg Forbes. Now we add that big upper air disturbance coming in from California. What does that do for us?
Yeah, that's definitely going to mean the threat for tornadoes higher than we had today. I've got a Torcon of 8. Here are these ingredients. Low-level jet, strong winds coming in into this warm sector with a warm Gulf of Mexico moisture all the way up into the warm front in Kansas. That's Kansas, that warm front with the shifting winds is why I have the highest Torcon there. The jet streak, that's a wind maximum in the jet stream blasting toward that warm sector, and then on Sunday up into the Wisconsin area. So for tomorrow, the areas in lighter shaded red, notice here we say tornado outbreak in the forecast here. Lighter shaded red through about 10 o'clock. Tornadoes, large hail damaging winds. Then after 10 o'clock, well after dark, the rest of the dark shaded areas. And some pretty high Torcon values. Might even have to go higher tomorrow. Concerns about how much the coverage will be. Kansas, with a warm front there, I've given the highest Torcon of 8, 80% chance of a tornado within 50 miles. Eastern half of Nebraska, a 7. Maybe lots of storms in the morning, holding down the instability just a little. Western Oklahoma, west half of Oklahoma, there some questions about how many storms there will be. That's otherwise, but whatever storms there will be there will have a chance of tornadoes. The concerning thing here is that many of the biggest cities are in the eastern edge of that red shaded area. That's going to tend to mean that it's going to be around dark or even after dark in these communities where the biggest Torcon threats come into these areas. So that is always a concern. The fatality rate goes up at night. Sunday, that jet streak, the surface low, the warm front, all heading their way toward the Twin Cities and especially Wisconsin. Look at that, the jet stream blasting way up to the north there toward the Great Lakes. And so with that, that's the upper forcing, that's about half the ingredients of my Torcon mental formulation. Wisconsin, I've given a Torcon of 5, a little bit concerned about maybe too many storms. Not too much of the combined ingredients in between. Torcons of 3 from Illinois down to Arkansas, but 4 where that southeast flow is going to hit the cold front coming into southeast parts of Texas.
So unlike April 27th, when A, B, and C were just off the charts everywhere, we're missing the forcing, which is one of the key ingredients.
The instability, the low-level wind shear, and then the triggering. All 3 of those were off the charts high on April 27th last year. This year, the triggering is on the moderate range, and the others are not off the charts high. So it's an 8 rather than a 10 thus far.
But an active day nonetheless. All right, guys, again, about 10 minutes before 4 local time, tornado touching down in Norman. This little cone that we put over the video is actually where we want you to look and focus in on, because as Greg has been pointing out tonight, rain-wrapped, as we heard from Ben Holcomb as well, a rain-wrapped tornado. But there you can see it all the way to the ground, Greg, moving right into the Norman area.
Yeah, and we can show you replay the video, the radar of that from that went back there, that we saw the tornado circulation likely to be forming. We decided to preempt rather than go into our long-form programming as a consequence, and unfortunately our forecast was right that we did indeed. Here, this was about 20 minutes until 4 p.m., and I'll step it forward in time, 5 minutes at a time.
Right here, guys.
There's Norman. Right about here, I believe, is when we got the tornado being reported, and then it came right into Norman. 1 step, 2 steps later, right in Norman there. It's right over Norman, and at that point had a pretty strong tornado rotation signature right over Norman. We've seen the damage that it did. All
right, guys, stick around. We'll have much more to come on some of the cities and the timing of when they will be impacted with tomorrow's outbreak. Chris and Kelly, back to you.
Live all day tomorrow, all night as well, to bring you severe weather coverage. New video just into the Weather Channel showing ominous skies over Oklahoma. This is near North Chickasha.
And the threat continues right now for more strong storms. And all over this, keeping a close eye on what's happening right now. And what's happening next is the storm tracker, Jim Cantori. Hey, Jim.
Yeah, guys, let's take a look at what we got, certainly from a water vapor perspective, first of all, and you can see how things have really changed over the last 24 hours. Look at our jet stream just kind of bulging out there into the Plain States. Yesterday, it was coming and then almost moving due north here. So we're driving, energy and certainly instability aloft across into the Plain States. We've also seen our low-level moisture really increase today. Look at all those cumulus clouds. Winds have increased at the surface as well, gusting 20, 30 knots at times. And, of course, when you meet up with a front, you're going to have showers and thunderstorms develop, and some of these are going to rotate, which we've seen today. It looks like we got some big hailstorms potentially along the southern parts of Kansas. They'll be heading into Missouri here. Springfield, you can see you're part of that watch. This is the storm earlier that produced the tornado in Norman, and now on its heels another storm which has produced damage around the Blair area. We were hearing reports of lots of damage in the town of Blair. Martha has also had reports of debris there. Winds have been estimated at 70 to 90 miles per hour. So Altus, you had the rear flank downdraft. You have some damage with some power outages there. But here comes that storm now, not tornado warned. Okay, not tornado warned, heading on off toward the northeast, toward the Roosevelt area. Be on the lookout. That storm could easily cycle through, as we saw with the Norman storm in time. On the tail end of that, another storm here in northeast Texas, or just to the north of Childress area. That'll be heading over toward Hollis. Again, very heavy rain, a big hail threat with these. As you can see, our storm potential moves into Missouri tonight, also backs down across parts of Texas, as we're seeing here as Dr. Forbes' forecast. Starting to get some improvements here north and west of Los Angeles. Very heavy rain here earlier. That has now moved down into San Diego. Rain, thunder, possibly some small hail. Los Angeles, again, nicely improved. But all that energy is going to lead us into tomorrow's severe weather outbreak, which will encompass many, many states from really Iowa on southward, Nebraska into Texas. And that's why Dr. Forbes has listed these Torcon values to be pretty high. We're talking about 8s for central Kansas. On northward into eastern Nebraska, we're talking about a 7 here. Western Oklahoma, a 7. Again, as I was talking to him earlier, this is not the sound of the kind of slam dunk that we had on April 27th. Even though there's a high risk earlier, we don't have the same kind of forcing moving in. Now, there's still going to be tornadoes, and here's some of the timing. Omaha, look for those storms to develop probably midday. Large hail, strong winds, certainly a chance for a tornado. We'll just see how much rain, cooled air sits around up there. Then in Wichita, this could be pretty much in the center point of the main game. Could be a late day, 6, 7 o'clock at night issue there, which heads possibly up toward the Kansas City area for overnight, and then Oklahoma City as well. Late day, potentially just after sundown, a chance for a tornado there along the dry line. So plenty of action here, all this right into Sunday as well. Adam?
That's right, Jim. We'll be all over it. Let's see what people are talking about on Twitter right now. Left-hand part of your screen, you can see the different cities we're going to be talking about. Right-hand part of your screen, this is what we're talking about. So in Long Beach, it's about the wind, and it's rainy there right now as well. Downtown was gusting over 20 not too long ago. Number 4, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, severe. There's a tweet from the area. Too much severe weather. Time to move. All it has to do is happen to one person. We understand. Number 3, St. Louis, Missouri, seeing some rain right now, and temperatures in the 50s, low 50s, so it's a little brutal out there. Norman, Oklahoma, talking about that tornado touchdown from earlier. Certainly a scary time. Number 1, Los Angeles, talking about thunder. And you've picked up some rain as well, over a ½ inch and counting. You can get involved as well. We're online, on air, and on your phone, guys.
All right, we want to thank you for staying with us tonight on Weather Center Live.
But we are not done yet. Of course, we'll break in if there's severe weather happening, but otherwise up next, it's Coast Guard Alaska.
And we will cover these storms all day tomorrow live here on the Weather Channel, right through the middle of the night. That's what it takes to keep you guys safe. So make sure you tune back in with us. We'll have crews in the field, including yours truly.
Be careful, Jim.
Right now it's time for a live weather update here on the Weather Channel. Watching that severe weather threat tonight. Tornado watch in effect for a huge chunk of Oklahoma. To the north, a severe thunderstorm watch, and then in the Texas Panhandle, also a severe thunderstorm watch. Some of the strongest storms right now to the east and west of Oklahoma City. Closer look shows with these severe thunderstorm warnings, a lot of lightning associated with this. Also bearing down on Tulsa right now, moving into Kansas and Missouri as well. More strong storms. Keep it tuned in here to the Weather Channel tonight and all day tomorrow for live coverage.